Crackdown was once a beloved franchise, cherished by many for its high-octane gameplay that delivered stupid fun, violence, chaos, and destruction. I think back on my time playing Crackdown 1 and 2 with fond memories of leveling up my agent and becoming an unstoppable super soldier that could jump, punch, and shoot his way through just about anything. Unfortunately, those memories don't really come back to me when I play Crackdown 3. On paper, this game does just about everything the previous games in the franchise did, but better. So you'd think it would be a fun game. But the problem is that this game came out 10 years, just about 10 years after Crackdown 2. So given the ridiculous amount of hype that Microsoft tried to drum up for this game, and the insane number of delays this game faced during development, I think it's fair that most people expected more from this game than what we ended up getting. In my eyes, Crackdown 3's issues all start with how god-awful the combat system is. I mean, seriously, it's like they went outside and pulled this combat system straight out of the nearest dumpster. This is some, like, Chuck E. Cheese arcade-ass style gunplay that has absolutely no business being in a AAA game title released in 2019. There is just absolutely no shot that this is acceptable in the modern age. Basically, you just hold down left trigger, which locks you onto the nearest enemy, and you hold right trigger to shoot and kill them. There is absolutely zero need to aim at anything in this game. And there's really only one thing that keeps this combat system from being completely automated. Once you get your shooting to a high enough level, you can choose to aim specifically at body parts on your target. The problem with this is that you can only do this after you scan the target, so you need to sit and listen to this outrageously annoying scanning sound effect every single time you target an enemy.
You got this. That's an order.
I am baffled by this decision. I can't, like, literally, you have to listen to that every single time you lock onto an enemy. So it's just constantly this sound of, it's crazy, man. It's crazy. I don't know. It's like nobody at all play tested this, thought this through. I can't imagine that nobody during the development cycle of this game stopped and thought to themselves, that's kind of fucking annoying. Nobody thought that? Really? It's just me? The only really redeeming quality that this combat system has is the way that you regain health. When you kill an enemy, a bunch of skill orbs come spilling out of them, and on top of giving you skills, which is something we'll talk about a bit later, these also heal you. And I really enjoy this style of gameplay. It's almost reminiscent of the way Doom handles combat and the way that you're forced to stay aggressive to stay on top of health and ammo. Obviously, this isn't executed anywhere near as well in Crackdown. In fact, it's almost sacrilegious for me to mention Crackdown 3 and Doom in the same sentence. That's how far off these two games are from one another, but it did remind me of this in a sense, and I did enjoy it for the same reasons. And moving forward, I just want to talk a little bit about all the random quips that you're forced to sit through from Commander Dick and Captain Balls throughout this whole ass game. While you're in combat, this random ass douche will come on the microphone and he'll say, "Nice cock, agent," after you kill somebody, or "Nice balls, brother." Like, man, I can't deal with this guy.
Is that all the punishment you've got? Hit that mech with everything you've got. Remind her, pain hurts. She's tough, but she's not invulnerable. Bring the pain.
He doesn't shut the fuck up. It's constantly like, "Nice shooting." Like you're, he's like the Halo announcer almost, except annoying and stupid, and it just, everything he says is a complete piss take. I can't deal with it. And there's also this woman named Echo that comes on your radio from time to time. She is a lot less annoying than the guy is, but it can still be pretty cringe at times.
She earns way more than you. She could afford any luxury she wants, but all the money she makes, she plows it right back into her company.
Somehow, worse than both of them is the way that all of the villains are written in this game. This shit is cringe city.
If I die, I'm taking you and this whole damn island with me. My favorite guinea pig is back for more punishment. Stop, agent. You're turning me on.
I really don't understand why video games in particular feel the need to stoop down to this absolutely horrendous level of cringe. I don't get it. There are way too many games that come out these days with this absolutely just brutal, annoying, over-the-top writing, and it's almost insulting that the people behind these games think this is what people want in their video games. If you're listening to this, any game developer that's listening to this, stop doing this, because I hate it, and I know basically everybody else hates it too. So just cut it out, please. Finding a way to make matters even worse, the way that missions are designed in this game is an absolute joke. The concept is similar to previous Crackdown games. The goal is to take down a crime organization from the ground up, taking out crime bosses, with the ultimate goal being to take down the big crime boss at the very top of the organization. To unlock the boss fights with these criminals, you need to go around the open world, completing different objectives and basically identifying them as you complete these objectives. And the objectives that you need to complete to defeat these bosses to unlock the boss battles are just absolutely awful. My least favorite of these mission types is definitely the one where you need to go around this mining operation, hacking and destroying machinery and oil tanks. And once you've destroyed enough of these oil tanks, you need to destroy a valve thing that opens up at the top. I don't understand the design process here. Like, none of this is fun. There's absolutely nothing fun about blowing stuff up in this game. This is just one example, but just keep in mind that every objective in this game is pretty close to being just as bad and just as tedious as this is. Objectives like this might have passed as acceptable 15 or 20 years ago, but just like the combat system, it is absolutely embarrassing that a game released in 2019 is shoving objectives like this down its players' throats. There's absolutely nothing fun or dynamic about destroying stuff in this game. These objects are basically just a big glorified bullet sponge. And that doesn't really make any sense to me, because there was supposed to be a fully fledged destruction system, almost like Red Faction Guerrilla had in this game, that was almost entirely scrapped. It was only included in the multiplayer component. So in the single player game, you're left with this god-awful system for just blowing stuff up, like straight out of, I'm telling you, like a game from 2005. That's how outdated this feels. Meanwhile, the multiplayer component of this game has this awesome dynamic destruction system, and it was supposed to be even better. When you go back and watch the footage of the destruction system that was supposed to be included in single-player Crackdown back, I think it was in 2015 at Gamescom, there's this awesome demo that shows the whole world getting destroyed and all this awesome destruction stuff. And I remember seeing that when it was new and thinking, this looks awesome. And then the game came out and it didn't have any of that. And it was like, what the fuck happened? It's totally missing. And the result is that this mission type in particular feels awful. It just feels terrible. And it's a shame in general, because I think that having this kind of dynamic, cool destruction system for the map would have made this otherwise boring and tedious video game something special. It would have been something unique to have in this game. It would have been a good selling point. But without it, this game just remains boring, and it remains uninspired and uninteresting. Another area where I feel that this game missed a great deal of potential is with its skill system and the way that players build power throughout the game. On one hand, I actually really dig the concept here. The game features multiple different skill types like weapons, strength, and agility, and you level up these skills by using them. So to upgrade agility, you'll run around the map collecting these orbs that you'll find on top of a bunch of crap that you have to climb. And to upgrade your weapons and your strength, you just kill enemies using these skills. So you'll shoot an enemy, and orbs corresponding to whatever damage you use to kill the enemy come flying out of them when they die. And there's something really satisfying about this system. It just feels rewarding to constantly gain XP in this way, and I really like it at face value. The problem with it is there really isn't any depth in this system. It's all very linear. Basically, you just level up your skills and unlock a new ability each time you do. There's no skill tree or anything, so you're just going to unlock whatever ability the game has planned for you for that specific level. And you can only level up 5 times per skill. And I get that they were trying to emulate the previous games with this system, but I really think this game would have benefited from a more complex skill system. Having a full skill tree for each ability with a bunch of cool abilities to unlock would have given this game some much needed depth, and I think it's a shame that they went with this much less interesting approach. The biggest issue with Crackdown 3, and the issue that encompasses basically all of the issues that I've already discussed, is that this game just feels old. Like I've been saying, it feels like a game that would have been acceptable gameplay-wise 15 or 20 years in the past. I think this would have been a fun game in 2005, or even 2010. It probably would have been fine if this was what Crackdown 2 was, because that's basically what this is Crackdown 2 with better graphics. And this leaves this game in a little bit of a weird spot, and that's to say that you can still have a relative amount of fun with this game. There's a little bit of fun that there is to have, relatively speaking, in the game, but it's nothing major and it's all very one-dimensional. You know, it's fun in the way that you could still go back and have fun with a game like Crackdown 1 or any other older title from the past. You know, I would be lying if I said that I didn't find some satisfaction running around blasting bad guys in this game. But it's the same type of fun that I would have playing a game like Duck Hunt. It's just a simple, one-dimensional type of fun that does nothing but leave you wanting more from the game. So to be more specific on a few areas where I think this game feels old, I want to start with the movement mechanics. Again, I think there's a certain amount of fun to be had running and rolling and double jumping and air dashing your way around this game's map, but it just feels so outdated. Moving around in this game feels very light and it's like loosey-goosey. It feels like you're on a sheet of ice as you're walking around. And again, this is just how games were in 2005, even 2010. This was acceptable, but nowadays we expect a much more weighty, impactful movement system in games. When you factor in that this game came out after Spider-Man and after games like Red Dead Redemption and other just incredible God of War, just incredible third-person action-adventure games, and this comes out and it feels like you're running around on rollerblades, it just, I don't know, it's completely unacceptable for a game that was released in 2019. I'm sorry to say it. Speaking of things that make this game feel old, let's talk about the graphics. It might be a bit of an exaggeration to say that this game looks like it's 10 or 15 or 20 years old. Actually, it's probably not that much of an exaggeration to say that it looks like it's 10 years old, but it definitely doesn't look like it's 20 years old. It really doesn't look good when you put it against other games that came out in 2019. Let's go ahead and take a look at this game's graphics alongside some other games that came out around the same time. Here's it compared to Jedi Fallen Order, also released in 2019 and one of my all-time favorite games. This game also released around the same time as Red Dead Redemption 2, The Division 2, and Sekiro: Shadows Die Twice. And I'm sorry to say it, folks, but this is a laughable joke in comparison to these games. These games are in totally different leagues of graphics. Like it's actually kind of funny how bad this game looks in comparison. And keeping in mind, this game's published by Microsoft. This isn't some like indie studio we're shitting on. Microsoft published this game. There's no excuse for this. I'm sorry. I get that there's some people that are going to say, well, it's a cel-shaded game. It's not really fair to compare a stylized graphic style with more realistic graphic styles, and that's fair. So here's one for you. 2019, also released 2019, Borderlands 3. In my mind, these two things compared, it's still an embarrassment in comparison. That's my opinion, and I'm sorry, I don't see it. I think it's a joke. I think this game looks like crap, frankly, and it's just one more area where this game feels outdated, old, behind the times, however you want to say it. This game needed to be better in this regard. And one more thing I want to talk about is the game's open world. The only thing that I think is even remotely acceptable about the game here is that this is a pretty unique concept for an open world. I think a big futuristic city with fancy cars driving around, I think that there's something there. There's some potential there for a really cool open world, something unique, kind of like a cyberpunk-esque vibe. Except the problem is that in this case, there's absolutely nothing else to like except just the idea. But ideas really don't get you very far when your game mechanics are trash. You know, you'll see other cars driving around and NPCs strolling on the sidewalk, but there's absolutely nothing happening here that makes this open world feel like it's actually alive. There's no random encounters, no interesting side quests, and there's no NPCs that you can actually interact with. The only thing that will basically ever happen to you is you'll get attacked by random enemies from time to time. That's the only thing you can expect to happen in the world. And again, this sort of system, basic open world with just some people walking around, that was acceptable for like Grand Theft Auto 3. but it's not acceptable now. And I'm sorry to say, there's just no way that you can release a game like this and expect anything but negative feedback when you have this level of just almost carelessness put in to these details. But I do want to say that despite all of my issues with this game, I do still hope we get to see Crackdown 4. I hope that at some point this franchise is able to return to its former glory and release a modern, well thought out, well made game at some point. You know, at the very core of this franchise, I think there's a ton of potential for a great game. A superhero game with this whole skills for kills, they call it, concept. I think it's awesome. I think there's a lot of potential to have a great game here. I still hold on to the memories I had as a kid playing the original Crackdown all the way back. I think it was like 2008 or 2007 or something like that. And I would love to be able to relive some of those memories in the future in a new Crackdown title that feels modern and it feels like it was well put together by any standard at all. But I am afraid that the failure of Crackdown 3 has killed interest in the IP, and with Sumo Digital being the company that made this game being bought out, I think by, was it Tencent or something? Anyway, that company was bought out, and it just doesn't really seem like Microsoft has plans for a Crackdown 4. Which, like I said, I think that's a bit of a shame. I think there's a lot of potential here. It's just a shame that they squandered it so badly with this game that took, again, like 9 years to develop. There was 9 years between Crackdown 2 and Crackdown 3, and they made this. Let me know what you think. If you've ever played this game, let me know in the comments. I'm interested to see, because I know there are some people who actually really like this game. I'd like to know if anyone has any way they can defend this. Yeah, so just, remember to like, remember to subscribe, remember to leave a comment. I want to hear from you. And yeah, that's all I got. I hope you enjoy the rest of your evening, the rest of your week. I got some nice videos planned. So like I said, subscribe, stick around. We'll come at you with some sick stuff coming up later this month. Peace.
What's your name, sir?
My name is Deez.
These what, sir?
Deez nuts.
Wow, good one.